What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man. And today we got a chance to witness the Strongman Classic 2021 at Royal Albert Hall. And from what Colin Bryce was saying, he's hoping this will be the first of many to come in future years. And oh, what an event it was. What a competition it was. For those of you that got to watch the Strongman Classic today, it was Royal Albert Hall was an incredible venue to begin with, and they had the kind of pyrotechnic entrances for all the competitors. Big Laws got a huge ovation, as you would expect, and so did everybody else. The Stoltmans, Novikov, Bishop, they all got huge ovations coming in, and it was a big spectacle, like what you really wanted to see with that kind of backdrop. And boy, was Royal Albert Hall rocking and rolling. Those fans really excited to watch what I got to watch on the Facebook live stream. And I got to say, it was a big bargain. $4.99. It was supposed to be £4.99. And then I'm in the US, so when I actually purchased it, it was $4.99 in US dollars as well. So I was pleasantly surprised that the price was not higher in US dollars. And I got to tell you, it was a little over 4 hours. So it started at 12 noon Eastern time and ended at about 4:20 or so PM. I would say the first half hour was preamble, like introductions and what to expect and that sort of stuff. And right around 12:34, they got going with the action. And I don't really feel like the pauses between each event were excessive. Like they really rolled on through and made it a really interesting and exciting thing to watch today. So that being said, how did it all go? Let's talk about some of the results or all of the results of today's Strongman Classic. So as you can see, the winner, I won't bury the lead, Alexei Novikov, who wasn't necessarily leading in the original events and kind of, I don't want to say snuck through because he did very well in multiple events toward the end, but really came back strong to win this. Evan Singleton ends up second place on the podium and was right around that area for most of the contest. And we'll talk about kind of some surprises, at least to me, that came about throughout this contest. Iron Bibby, who many said was not a complete strongman, we haven't seen enough of him, ends up in third place. And he really, you could have made an argument. You could make an argument that he could have and should have won the show if not for some scenarios that I'll describe later on. Then we had Adam Bishop coming in fourth place. So if we go through the points, Novikov at 44.5 points, Singleton at 43 points, Iron Bibby at 37.5, Adam Bishop fourth with 33 points. Tom Stoltman, the current world's strongest man, ends up in fifth place with 30.5 points. And there's kind of a little bit of a reasoning for that, which we'll get to as well. Luke Stoltman comes in right behind him at number 6, 27.5 points. And Big Laws, Lawrence Chalet, proves to the world that he does still belong among the best strongmen in the world, coming in seventh place and beating a lot of, or at least several, currently active guys. So he actually ends up coming in ahead of Gavin Bilton, who is UK's strongest man and just competed at Worlds. So Gavin comes in eighth with 22.5 points. Pao Dwyer comes in ninth with 21.5 points. Ivar Schmuck is 10th with 21 points. And then Mark Felix ends up coming in last place, 11th with 9 points. Had to withdraw with an injury, though. And we'll kind of talk about what happened there. So I remember the order of some of these things. Mark Felix ends up going first on the axle overhead press. So that was the first event of the day, the axle overhead press. And this was the one coming in with all of the hoopla and all of the push behind Iron Bibby to try to set the world record, break Eddie Hall's world record on the axle overhead press. And so we started off at 170 kilos, which I think a lot of people were expecting 160. 170 was kind of heavy to start off with. And not only that, but after 170, they jumped to 190. They didn't even stop at 180 in between. And from there, they went to 205. And from there, they went to the world record, which only Iron Bibi was left to attempt. So a few guys zeroed the 170 kilo. Big Laws was one of them. He cleaned it. He had a decent attempt at the push press, didn't quite get it up. And funny enough, like if you calculate all the points, if he would have gotten that one rep on the 170, I think that would have put him in 5th place ahead of Tom Stoltman, if my math is right, instead of 7th, which would have been absolutely astounding. So one rep difference there. But, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You have to count what actually did happen. And so Laz zeros the 170. Ivars also zeros the 170. Mark Felix purposely zeroed the 170. So I saw this and I was like, wait, what's happening? And there's always strongman strategy involved, and I guess Mark knows that overhead medley is a deficiency for him compared to these other guys. And so he actually went over to the axle, lifted it a couple inches off the ground, and put it right back down. Like he purposely zeroed it. So it was really caught me by surprise, but I guess strategically for him made sense at the time. And then there was Adam Bishop, who also zeroed the 170 kilo. So who are the guys that did hit the 170? Well, Evan Singleton hit the 170. He used a double overhand grip, which surprised me a bit. Most of the guys, at least on the heavier weights, were using an alternating grip. Evan was using a double overhand grip at both 170 and 190. On the 190, he actually got it all the way up and kind of for a millisecond or a microsecond locked it down and smooth motion dumped it behind him, so they didn't count it. So not enough lockout to suffice to count for Magnus Vermagnuson. He got it all the way up though, but again, not enough lockout to count. So he was ever so close to getting a 190 kilo press there. Evan makes 170. Alexei Novikov did hit the 190. He had a little bit of a stumble on the 170 kilo and then ended up attempting the 205 and failed the clean there. So no press attempt there. Iron Bibi ends up with the world record. So, if I were a good YouTuber, I'd tell you that last and bury the lead, but I'm too honest. So I'm just going to go in order here. Iron Bibi did the 170, completed the 190 very easily. The 205, I wouldn't say was easy, but it was smooth. There were no hitches in it. He was able to get it up without any pauses of any kind. And then a little bit controversial. So the 217, the record was 216 kilo. So he attempted 217. He tried 2 push presses and failed at it. And so everybody in the arena thought, okay, like it's a failed attempt, no new world record. So he's sitting on the side and was able to get a rest. And then the organizers actually pulled the audience to ask, should we give him another try? And of course, the audience is going to cheer. They want to see a world record broken. And they use that to make a decision to let him go again, which is strange. It was very strange. I got to say, like, maybe I'll think through it and think something different later. But my initial reaction was, this is nonsense. If you're going to give, it's okay to say, unlike some other people who we won't name who broke records not in competition, this was in competition, so you got to give him that. It's not like he broke it in a gym, right? But he broke it in competition with a little extra rest and an extra attempt that all the other guys didn't have. And I'm not saying they would have broke the record. None of them would have, but they might have made up some extra points that they didn't have a chance or an opportunity to make up. So a little bit controversial there. I'm kind of torn because to hear Bibi speak, he seems like such a nice, grateful guy and was praising the crowd for really elevating him. And, you wish him all the best. And it wasn't him making the decision, right? The decision was made for him. But I just think if you give one person an extra chance at something, and give everybody an extra chance, that's all. So he does end up walking away with a new world record, 217 kilos. And interestingly enough, after failing it those first 2 times and getting the little rest and coming back, like it didn't seem so hard the third time. So I don't know what happened the first time around. Tom Stoltman ended up getting the 190. I felt like he was fairly close on the 205, but he stopped after one push press try, didn't try it again. So he ends up obtaining the 190 kilo. Luke Stoltman does the 170, and I had always said in my predictions before this that although Luke is log presser extraordinaire, Tom is the better axle presser, and he was today. Both of them hampered by injuries a little bit. So Tom had what he called in his YouTube video like micro tears in his hamstring, and he had said, it'll be okay for the Strongman Classic, no problem. But he ended up, when we get to the deadlift, he ended up aggravating it there. So I don't think it was bothering him on this lift, but he was interviewed, had like kind of a succinct interview, and he said, I'm here to have fun, and I'm having fun, and I don't know, kind of gave the impression of if I don't want to go all out, I just won't, and that's his prerogative, right? So 190 for him, 170 for Luke. The 170 seemed easy for Luke. I didn't feel like he fully locked out the elbows, but they counted it. Maybe he's one of those like Monster Michael Todd in arm wrestling where the elbows don't fully lock out, and judges just know that. So that may be the case. And we talked about Big Loz. He zeroed on that 170. Gav Bilton did make the 170, which ended up being a Welsh record for him. So congratulations, Gavin Bilton. And then he had 2 failed push press attempts at the 190. So he tried that and did not make it. Pau Dwyer did hit the 170 as well. He had an actually really easy clean on the 190 attempt, but then tried a split jerk and missed it. He tried a second time on a more of a push press and missed that as well. And I don't know when they're going to air this or if there's a replay of some sort that you can purchase and watch, but Pau Dwyer is quite a character, and I don't know how I didn't realize that, but he's one of my favorite strongmen now. I mean, to hear him do interviews is like super entertaining, and you really want to root for him to do well. As we mentioned, Ivars and Mark Felix, 0 the actual overhead press. So before we move on to Hercules hold, let's go and see if we have any comments, and we do. And by the way, anybody who's here for the first time, if you like the analysis you're seeing, please like the stream. Please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And so Brother Mister says, let's go spicy Stoltmans for sure. I got to give Luke a lot of credit because you could tell that Luke was being bothered by that bicep injury he has. I think it was kind of like the bicep tendon into the forearm tie-in. And, they mentioned it on the YouTube channel leading in. It wasn't any secret. And you could see that it was bothering him fairly early on, and he just refused to talk about it. Like there was, I think they were talking about someone in the crowd who was battling cancer, and he wanted to focus on kind of that commendable sort of fight against real pain, he called it. Like the pain we go through isn't real pain, that's real pain, and I really want to, he's my hero. And to kind of ignore what you're going through for the betterment of others is really commendable. Luke was smiling the whole time, and he was in pain because he'd dropped the implement or finished the implement and grab his arm, and you can tell he was in pain. And it wasn't until Neil Pickup, by the way, greatest announcer in the world right now. It wasn't until Neil Pickup asked him, like in 3 consecutive events, 3 times, like, we know it's bothering you, even though you're not saying so, until Luke finally said something like, yeah, my arm's a little tweaked and whatnot. But you could see he really wanted to do his best for the crowd and have a good time and have a nice smile and really bring positivity regardless of the pain he was going through. So classic Luke Stoltman, class act, and always awesome to watch him compete. Arthur says, great show, but that 3rd attempt was crap for the world record. Yeah, like I said, if you're going to give one guy extra tries, you got to give every guy extra tries, regardless of whether they're going for world records. Like, what if Loz would have got an extra try and hit that 170? It would have been 2 places up overall. Did I say 270? 170. But that's the point. Like, you give everybody an equal playing field, whether they're the star going for the world record or not. That's just my opinion, right? Kieran says, Big Loz really impressed on the deadlift. We'll get to the deadlift in a moment, but yeah, so Big Loz ended up doing 4 reps on a deadlift that ended up being 10 kilos heavier than it was supposed to be. Not that it was supposed to be. I don't want to say we came into the contest thinking one thing and we surprised the athletes. That's not true. What happened was, in the months leading up to the Strongman Classic, we had heard 350 kilos on an axle deadlift for reps. And yesterday on Big Laz's last video before he went into there, he said he heard they raised it to 360. So he did 4 reps on a 360 deadlift axle, where Tom Stoltman, the world's strongest man, did 3. And I'll give it to you. Tom had an injured hamstring. I get it. But Laz has been retired for a while. Like, for a retired guy to come in and hang with, we'll get to deadlift in a minute, where you can see how he did compared to others. And for sure, Kieran, it's super impressive. He gave everything he had on that last rep to the point where he collapsed over the bar. It was just, Laz gave us a few memorable moments that we'll get to. Patrick says, happy for Bibby, but he shouldn't have been allowed. Yeah, I'm kind of torn in the same way, right? He's a great guy. He's a super strong guy. Like, he actually did break the record. Like, it wasn't falsified. He got it over his head. It actually happened, right? So I'm kind of torn, but like, the extra tries, like, competitions just don't work that way, right? What's up, Tyler? Tyler, I did try to join your live earlier, and I couldn't get connected for some reason, but definitely next time, buddy. Definitely next time. I want to see that. You guys should all check out World's Strongest Blacksmith whenever you get a chance. Follow him on Instagram and on YouTube. So he's doing some awesome stuff live as well. Cloud Strife says, you can't change the rules mid-comp. That is awful. Also, he wasn't stable on his feet. You can change the rules mid-comp if you're Colin Bryce, apparently. Like, I'm not trying to disparage the guy, but literally, like, tell me if you guys saw something different. I saw Colin ask the crowd, and the crowd cheer, and he say, okay, let's do it. Like, I'm with you. I'm with you, buddy. You can't change the rules mid-comp. Patrick, what's up, Patrick? Patrick says, also, this just gives the Eddie fans something else to conspire about. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective personally, not necessarily conspiracy, but kind of head scratching that Eddie has now had 2 records taken in less than ideal fashion, right? Like, one that was not in competition, and now one with an extra attempt. So yeah, if I were him, I might be a little bit peeved. World's Strongest Blacksmith says, I loved watching the contest on Facebook. Big Laz did good. The axle press was amazing. Bibby could have done more. Can't wait to watch the log record battle between Bibby and Luke. Yeah, me too. Luke's definitely a better log presser than he is an axle presser, and he was also hurt today. So I hope that he gets healed up by then, which I think he should, and then we'll get to see some pretty cool stuff. So let's move on to the Hercules hold for a moment. And Hercules hold, Alexei ended up doing 52.47 seconds, which was good for 5 points. Iron Bibby, this is another big surprise of today. Iron Bibby ends up winning the Hercules hold. And I don't say surprise because he's a bad Hercules holder. He's an incredible Hercules holder. I think I had predicted him to be 2nd or 3rd, something like that. But I think, like, the whole world thought Mark Felix was going to win the Hercules hold. He's especially good on this set of Hercules pillars, and he ends up coming in 3rd. So Bibby wins it at 1 minute 15.12 seconds. You have Evan Singleton in 2nd place with 1 minute 14.36 seconds. And then you had, if you look for the 9 points, there's Mark Felix he did still break a minute, so 106.42. And, you know, they interviewed him and were asking, like, what went wrong? Is it the heat? Blah, 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 blah. And he said, no, I just couldn't hold it any longer. So there you go. And then you had Ivar Schmockstellis, who did really well. I believe he went 1st, if I remember correctly, and he went over a minute. So 1 minute 2.51 seconds, good for 8 points. And next was Big Laz. So he did very well also. 7 points for him on the Hercules hold. Very near a minute, so 55.15 seconds. A couple of the guys tried to do, like, I think Gavin Bilton was one of them who tried to do a hand adjustment toward the end when they were losing the grip, and they just lost it. That didn't work. So let's see. Yeah, so here you go. Gavin Bilton tried a little hand shift at the end and lost it. So that's 7 points for Laz, 6 for Bilton right behind him at 52.86 seconds. You then had the 5 points going to Alexei that we mentioned. So Alexei kind of toward the bottom of the standings in the Hercules hold, although a very good time. And then 4 points went to Adam Bishop, who did 47.93 seconds. Adam Bishop at one point, I think it was right after this and before the deadlift, was last in the competition and ends up 4th overall. Like, super comeback for Adam Bishop. So of course he's an incredible deadlifter, and he also at one point had the world record on this particular frame. So we'll see what happened there in a moment, but he made a huge comeback. So few different surprises here, right? So Mark Felix purposely zeroing the axle press, Adam Bishop being last and coming back to finish 4th. Iron Bibby winning the Hercules hold over Mark Felix. A lot of good surprises here today. And so that was 4. 3 points went to Luke Stoltman, who did 46.21 seconds. 2 points went to Tom Stoltman, who did 38.34 seconds. And then 1 point to Pau Dwyer, 33.57 seconds. So Tom does one placing better than 2020 World's Strongest Man. Slowly but surely improving. I had thought he would do, I think in my prediction, I said he would have 4 points, so I gave him a little more credit. He looked very strong in his prep on Hercules hold, but to be fair to Tom, and I have it in my notes here, this did not look properly measured for him. So they made, kind of a case for, we measure all of our athletes so that the handle positioning is properly suited for them and properly aligned. There was even a big joke about Big Laws said, I've been gone for so long, they don't have my measurements anymore, like that kind of thing. But I have to say, from my perspective, it looked like most of the guys' arms were straight across or pretty close to it, and Tom was reaching down. Like, he did not look properly measured. So, yeah, he didn't do well here, but I don't necessarily think he had a fair positioning either. How much better would he have done? Who knows? But that just needs to be said. Where it seems like something isn't totally equal for everybody, I'm going to call it out. So that's what happened on the Hercules hold. Let's go back to the comments and see what folks think. So let's see. Aditya says, 2017 World's Strongest Man, didn't they change one of the events after the commencement of the finals? I have to check. I don't know, but folks in the comments might know. We'll see. Kieran says Bibby had already won the axle press before they let him try. He did. Yeah, it was a world record. It was totally tied to trying to break the record. He would have won the axle press either way. He was the only guy to get 205, I believe. I don't think anybody else even got the 205. Let's double check. Yeah, nobody got the 205. So he would have won it either way. So the points would not have changed. It was just totally a world record thing. Tyler, did my live stream on Instagram. I'll be doing a live stream on YouTube tomorrow afternoon. Okay, cool. Nice. Oh, you're getting verified on YouTube. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll do my best to be there. Just let me know the time, buddy. Definitely want to support you. Kieran says, Gab Bilton did 190 kilogram axle easily in training. The heat looked like it played a factor. Yeah, it could be. That's kind of one thing I took a little bit of heat for, no pun intended. During World's Strongest Man predictions, I relied a little bit too heavily on training and not as much as, I looked at past performances, but not as much. And this time around, I put a lot more weight on performances in competition over prep. I looked at prep a little bit, but it was mostly past competitions for that reason, because you have certain conditions in competition, you have the pressure, you have some people thrive on the crowd, like you have things that just don't exist in training. So definitely. Tyler says, Tom was the tallest competing by over 3 inches, so I think that could have been an issue. Yeah, I guess Gav was probably the closest in height to him. T-Rex is 6'6" also, so there you go. But yeah, his arms look like they were going down for sure on the Hercules hold, not straight across like everybody else. The other thing too, I don't know if any of you compete and you've ever done Hercules hold. If you have, let me know. Some guys had arms across and head down like this, and some of them were looking up. So I think if you're looking up, it might even change your rotation a bit. So any thoughts in the audience about which positioning is easier or why you might do one over the other would be really, really, really interesting. So moving on to the axle deadlift. Axle deadlift is where Alexei started to make his move. So it didn't look like Alexei was going to win this competition at all. At the beginning, you had Iron Bibby, who had won the axle press. He won the Hercules hold. And then we were heading into axle deadlift. I think Bibby was leading after 4 events out of 5. And we'll talk about what happened in the fifth event in a moment. But he was leading for most of the competition. Evan Singleton was right there with him for a while. And Alexi starts to make his move. So he ends up doing 6 reps on the axle deadlift. Let me just make sure I have that one right, because that one I wasn't totally positive I wrote down correctly. So let me just go check Strongman archives, if you don't mind. He got either 5 or 6. I just wanted to make sure that I wrote it down correctly. So if I go to contests, yeah, of course I can't find it on Strongman archives right now. It was either 5 or 6. So he ends up getting 10 points there. Yeah, it must have been 6 because he beat out the guys who got 5. All right, so I got that one written down correctly. Adam Bishop, I thought would win the deadlift. He did. He ends up getting 7 reps on this apparatus where the world record is 8. So there you go. He puts in an incredible performance and starts to make huge strides to move his way up in the standings. So Adam Bishop wins it with 11. Novikov, 10 points for getting 6 reps. And then you had multiple guys with 5 reps, Evan Singleton and Iron Bibby, who split that at 8.5 points each. And then you have 4 reps by Big Laz. Again, as mentioned earlier, Laz does 3 reps. He had, I would say, probably the second, third, and fourth reps all had a hitch in them. And he actually was interviewed after and said, "Don't copy my form. It was rubbish." Or, one of those cute words that the British use that we don't use here. Yeah, I had rubbish form or something like that, he said. But that 4th rep was otherworldly. He put everything he had into it. He collapsed over the bar when he was done. I forget who he was going against. Was it Gav Bilton, I think? Whoever it was a head-to-head, the deadlift. So whoever he was going against, ran over to make sure he was okay. It was a whole to-do. It was a whole to-do. And one of multiple big moments that Laz gave us in this competition. So he ends up getting 4 reps for 7 points. And I'm making a big deal about this because he's been retired for a while. And during lockdown, didn't train for a while. And look at all these guys with 3 reps who did less than him and 2 reps. And, just awesome, Laz, awesome. When we talk next, I really got to congratulate you in person, buddy. So 7 points for Laz. Then you had, so it would be the next 3 guys tied at 3 reps. So it would be 6, 5, 4, the average being 5. So they get 5 points each. So 5 points goes to Tom Stoltman for 3 reps. 5 goes to Gavin Bilton. And 5 goes to Pao Dwyer, all for 3 reps. Again, Tom Stoltman started talking of cramping. He after was interviewed and said he's playing it safe and having fun because he's the champ and he can, if he wants to, just have fun. But in terms of playing it safe, I think it was revealed later in the next event that he did do something to his hamstring. So that's what I think he meant by playing it safe. He didn't want to tear it anymore. So 5 points to those guys. Ivar Smokstelis ends up doing 2 reps, so 3 points for him. Mark Felix he zeroed it. It looked like he injured his hamstring in the attempt. So Mark Felix, usually really good at an event like this, zeroes it and ends up having the withdrawal after that. And let's see, did we miss anybody on the deadlift? Luke Stoltman also with, he gets 1 rep, so he gets 2 points coming in behind Ivar's. And that's everybody on the deadlift. So, yeah, so again, Luke Stoltman, very reluctant to admit an injury, but again, after being asked for the 3rd time by Neil Pickup, he's like, "Yeah, my arm's a little tweaked, a little, kind of tried to diminish it." But Luke just has a big smile throughout it all, and that's why he's awesome to watch. All right, so looking back at the comments, let's see. Tom is 6'9" with a 7'3" wingspan. Yeah, I've seen him listed either 6'8" or 6'9", but he's around there. Kieran says, Novikov is definitely improving his deadlift. Would have been nice to see Hicksy and JF compete on the axle. Yeah, JF, unfortunately, still recovering from that hamstring injury that he suffered at World's Strongest Man. He is organizing, but not competing in Canada's Strongest Man coming up at the end of the month. So I think he said it was July 31st and August 1st, a two-dayer. So that one is available if you haven't seen it on his Facebook. And I think he said he's going to be live streaming it there too for like a very nominal price. So definitely check that out. I'm going to try to watch that as well. But yeah, I can't wait to see JF come back. He was actually on Laz's channel talking about how he's going to win Canada's Strongest Man again next year and make that his 10th, do the double digit thing. So that'll be awesome. Let's see. Yeah, it would have been nice to see them as well. So Laz told me, again, I'm going by his experience because I don't have that sort of experience, but he told me Hicks hates the axle. He told me he's great on log, but he hates the axle. So we'll see. See if that ever comes to fruition. Singleton and Novikov both made up for poor performances at World's Strongest Man. Yeah. So Singleton, I heard, was ill throughout World's Strongest Man, like a cold or flu type thing. I don't know exactly what. So he wasn't up to his best. And that's why when I did my predictions, I bumped Evan up in most of the events by 1 or 2 places over what he did at Worlds and similar events or recently before that, because Worlds wasn't a fair judge of what he could do. So, there's that. And then Novikov had all kinds of problems with the frame at Worlds. For him, right? For his standard, like he still did better than other guys, but for his standard, he had all kinds of problems with the frame at Worlds. But here with the straps, blazing speed, blazing speed. So when you use straps on a frame and it becomes more of a speed event than a grip event, seems to be right down his alley. So fantastic for him. Graham Hicks is injured, isn't he? He is. Yeah. So he posted recently. It was funny. He did a post recently from his ice bath and said, like, if you ask me questions real quick, I'll try to answer them while I'm in here. So, yeah, I asked him how his recovery was coming, and he's like, slowly but surely, I have to listen to my body. So, yeah, we all wish him a speedy recovery, but yeah, he is currently still injured. All right, cool. So let's move on to the next event. Again, anybody who's new here, if you like this type of analysis, please like the stream, please subscribe. And any of the OGs who are here who are looking for a way to support the channel, you have the super chats and super stickers available to you. Totally optional, but totally appreciated. Trying to use that to hopefully in the future give back to some of the athletes I interview. I want to try to set something up like where I can share some of the channel revenue with them, maybe do some product reviews and things like that, and just keep all this great information coming. So again, totally optional, but if you do decide to do that, very, very much appreciated. So moving on to the frame. So the frame was very exciting to watch. It was another head-to-head type of thing. Bishop ended up having to go by himself because of the withdrawal, I think, of Mark Felix. But Novikov ends up winning it with 8.74 seconds. So the world record was Adam Bishop with 8.28, not today, but the record coming into this contest was 8.28. And I was a little confused because granted, like, we're doing this by eye and maybe there's a slight delay on the stream. The stream looked really like in sync to me. So I don't know how much of a delay there was, but I thought I saw Alexei crossing the line and putting it down with the clock saying 7 something. So I don't know how it ended up 874, but again, maybe a little delay. Maybe my eyes deceived me. He did not break the world record, but very close. So 8.74, very close to 8.28. So he ends up with the 11 points there. And Adam Bishop, the world record holder in this particular frame event, again, a 400 kilo kind of like picture a guy standing inside of a wooden box with the top and the bottom cut off. It was the wood comes up very high on them. The handles are like deep within there where you can't even see them, and they were allowed to use straps. So it ends up being like a race, like a speed type event. And so Bishop ends up with 10 points, 9.46 seconds. And then you have 9 points going to Luke Stoltman. So again, Luke, despite the injuries, does incredibly well. 10.31 seconds is very, very fast on this particular frame. Then you have Evan Singleton coming in fourth with 8 points at 11.32 seconds. He picked it up. It pivoted like 45 degrees at the very beginning, and he kind of moved through space like that the whole way and never corrected it, and still got 8 points at 11.32 seconds. He was head-to-head with Iron Bibby, who ended up getting 7 points right behind him with 12.29 seconds. Bibby had a little bit of a trip, like a stumble at the very beginning, and then he was like catching up to Evan at the end, and there was kind of this, is he going to overtake him? They switched camera angles, so he got the side angle, and Bibby didn't quite catch him, but they have like this friendly trash talk between them. So, you know, they asked Evan, like, were you worried if Bibby was going to catch you? And Evan said, I had time to finish it, turn around and tell him I won and still win. And he wasn't there yet. And, you know, Bibby was kind of laughing and saying, oh, Evan's slow. I'll get him next time. And this and that. So it was pretty funny. But Bibby ends up 12.29 seconds, very, very fast as well, 7 points. 6 points then goes to Big Laz, Lawrence Chalet, 12.34 seconds. So again, like, he had the world record in this event at one point as well before Adam Bishop broke it. Laz's record was 9 point something seconds. I don't remember, 9:37 or 9:70 something like that. So, you know, at his best, he would be among the very top here, but ends up still with 6 points, still very fast on this particular event. You then move to Pau Dwyer, who does it in 13:84, also very fast, 5 points for him. Ivar Schmuckstelis, 4 points at 14.66 seconds. And then 3 points goes to Tom Stoltman, who does it in 15.92 seconds. And this is where you started hearing Neil Pickup say that Tom had torn his hamstring earlier on the deadlift, or re-aggravated that micro tear that he had from Worlds and maybe possibly made it worse. So 3 points go to Tom, but 15.92 seconds is still not slow on this event. So still did pretty well. 2 points then goes to Gavin Bilton, who really, really struggled in this event. So he had to put it down a couple of times, ends up at 46.89 seconds. So he like really, really struggled. And that's last place because Mark Felix had withdrawn by this point. So he did not compete in the frame. What do folks think about the frame in the comments? Let's see. Well, Will is saying, I hope Laz competes again. He's still got it. I agree with you. He's you know, what you would call mid-pack, not exactly the middle, but pretty close, like 5'6" would be middle, and he was 7. So I feel like there's no counter argument to the fact that Laz is absolutely competitive with the best guys in the world still, even after being out of the game for a couple of years. There's no doubt about it. He didn't come in last or even second to last. And he did very well in some of these events. Like he beat out quite a few guys in the deadlift, which isn't necessarily the thing he's most known for either. So I'm totally with you. I hope he competes again. He kept saying, like, I'm coming back for one more time to end on my terms. And, you know, if I were him and had his history, ending like this would be fantastic. But hey, you know, he might feel like with a little bit of rest and recuperation, I could do a few more of these. So then, of course, we had the Atlas Stones at the end, and they called them the Castle Stones because Castle Water was a sponsor. They had several different sponsors. That was one of them. So they end up being called the Castle Stones. And would anyone here like to hazard a guess who won the Castle Stones? Hamstring or no hamstring, Tom Stoltman won and was actually very close to his own world record on this. So he comes away with the 11 points. 16.97 seconds, so extremely fast for Tom Stoltman, but again, no surprise here. The big surprise was that Mark Felix didn't win the Hercules hold, but those two are as close to guarantees as you can get in Strongman, right? So 11 points goes to Tom Stoltman. Evan Singleton, this was a shocker. So Evan Singleton is known for not being good at stones, especially or maybe solely because of the bicep injury he had at Worlds last year. He himself has said on his Instagram that he's been working his way back to becoming better at stones since that injury, and he's still struggling a bit. And before Worlds this year, he was saying that. So I don't know how in a month he got so much better. But Evan Singleton, amazingly, 10 points, 20.22 seconds in the Atlas Stones, which kind of solidified him in second place there. And he was head-to-head with Alexei Novikov, who he barely beat out. So Evan was ahead. And then on the fifth stone, Alexei caught up. They both put it up very close to each other. Evan got it up first. Alexei got it on. And then Alexei's was kind of rolling around the rim while Evan got to push his on. So they went to kind of the videotape to see who won. But I could see it with my eyes that Evan did edge it out. And so 10 points to him, 9 to Novikov, 20.53 seconds. 8 points goes to Adam Bishop, 21.58 seconds. So he continues his ascension through the placings to put himself right outside the podium at 4th place after being last earlier in the competition. Amazing, amazing comeback for Adam Bishop. 7 points goes to Luke Stoltman, 22.66 seconds. Again, like with that injury, does exceptionally well on the stones. And then 6 points goes to Ivar Schmuckstellis at 25.32 seconds. And then 5 points goes to Big Laz. So he finishes all 5, 40.88 seconds. So not super fast, but the first 4 were very fast. On the 5th, it seemed like he wanted to take his time, get his tacky right, get his positioning right. And he did get the 5th one on the first try. So I guess all that preparation was the right thing to do. But it did cost him some time. I don't think if he had foregone all that preparation and tacky check and gone faster, I don't think he would have moved up any placings, right? Because he's 15 seconds slower than Ivar, so he would not have made up 15 seconds. So the choice he made was the correct choice. 4 points goes to Pao Dwyer, who does all 5 in 43 seconds. 3 points goes to Gab Bilton, who manages only 4 of the stones and does it in 42.6 seconds. And then Iron Bibby zeroes it because Colin Bryce came on and said, we've taken him out. We've forced him to withdraw from the competition. Well, withdraw is when you take yourself out, but we've taken him out of the competition because he has an arm injury that he's had for a while coming into this, and we don't want him to get badly hurt. I think Colin even said like a couple of the muscle fibers are torn and we don't want him to have a total muscle tear. And so Bibby came on and spoke, and he said, yeah, I've actually had a problem with my left arm for the last month or so. And so amazing that he did as well as he did on all of the other events, but they pulled him out, giving him a 0 on the Atlas stones. I don't know the degree of the injury, but one can only surmise or think about the possibility of you should have let him go and, maybe pick up a couple of points and stay in first. So that's kind of how the Atlas stones or Castle stones shook out. And Iron Bibby ends up, after leading, basically, I think he led the whole competition going into that, ends up in 3rd place, still on the podium, but he made a big deal about saying, like, he's here for the fans. He wanted to really get the axle, and everything after that was for the fans and to put on a good show. And not necessarily to win the competition. So, yeah, I mean, he ended up 5.5 points behind Evan Singleton. I don't know if Bibby would have gotten 5 points on the Atlas stones anyway. So, thinking about it that way is probably the right move. But that ends up being your podium. Alexei Novikov, who seems to win everything except World's Strongest Man this year, right? Like, he did very well. Good in the axle overhead press, not so good in the Hercules hold, and then roars right back when nobody was paying attention to him. Everybody was watching Bibby and Evan Singleton, and suddenly Alexei Novikov ends up winning the show. So huge congratulations to him. Evan Singleton comes in 2nd place and proves that World's Strongest Man 2021 this year was a fluke or not necessarily his standard performance. Iron Bibby ends up in 3rd place. And then you have, of course, Adam Bishop with the huge comeback to finish 4th. Tom Stoltman, who I had predicted to win this, comes in 5th. Luke Stoltman, 6th place right behind him. Big Laz, proving that he's right in the mix with these guys at 7th place, beating out Gavin Bilton, who comes in 8th. Pao Dwyer at 9th place. Ivar Schmuckstellis in 10th. And Mark Felix in 11th or last place, who I had predicted to be 2nd. So, like, I'm not going to hide from that prediction. Although he did withdraw, so it would have been interesting to see what would have happened with Mark Felix if he could have done all of the events, specifically the deadlift where he got hurt. That's a good event for him. So it would have been interesting to see how he would have finished. So those are the placings. That's the complete results, the complete recap, all of the analysis of everything that happened at today's Strongman Classic 2021, hopefully the first of many to come at the amazing Royal Albert Hall. A great live stream from Giants Live. There were a little bit of audio issues at the beginning. It was low. I could still hear it. But yeah, overall, an incredible performance. It will make me want to purchase more Giants live streams in the future. Let's see if I missed any comments before we wrap it up for the evening. So Kieran Allen says, Mateus versus Novikov on the frame will be amazing to watch. Certainly will. Mateus, I think, says he's coming back in a comp in September, I believe. So I think that's the Florida WUS. And that's going to be pretty cool. That's actually on the same night as Eddie versus Thor. And so one of the WUS organizers, I'm sorry, his name escapes me, but Big Laws interviewed him very recently. He was saying during that interview that something like the whole weekend pass for the Eddie Thor fight, all the undercards, and the strongman competition is like $55 for a weekend pass. How do you beat that? That's one of the most incredible deals I think I've ever heard. But yeah, so I believe that's the one Mateus is competing in. I might be wrong, but he did say it's September timeframe. So that'll be very, very interesting to watch. The other thing too is Laws interviewed JF Caron recently, who's been on my channel before as well. And JF was saying, I really wish I could have made it to the Strongman Classic. I want to compete with you one more time, maybe in the future. And Laz was saying, well, we'll see how this goes, see if there is a future. I think there will be. I mean, he did well today. He really did. You don't have to make a podium to say you did well. It's all perspective, and I think he did well enough to compete again if he wants to. So Kieran says, appreciate your analysis, highly underrated channel. Thank you, buddy. That's so nice. Your interview with Bobby Thompson was awesome. Well, I always say the interviews that I do that are awesome are the interviewees make them awesome. Bobby Thompson is an incredible interview. He's so full of knowledge, tips. He gave a lot of, if you're saying you watched that one you saw, he gave some insights about how the heat affected them and things you might not know because we haven't seen all the episodes yet. If you liked Bobby and you like that kind of detailed information and storytelling, watch. I have a 5-part series, 5 different videos on Travis Ortmeyer. Watch everything I've done on Travis. If you like strongman storytelling, he's the best strongman storyteller. You'll love him. Sigfus Fostal is another great storyteller that I interviewed, so definitely check him out. And then before we wrap it up, I got to tell you what's coming up, right? So we have Dr. McDougall, the strongman chiropractor, coming on Monday, day after tomorrow, Monday night on my channel, 9 p.m. Eastern. So you don't want to miss that. It'll be a live stream like this. Bring all your best questions for him. He actually reached out to me and said, hey, you're doing a lot of great interviews. I fixed up like most of the people you've interviewed and a whole bunch more. It might be cool to have a chat. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Come on. So we'll get a perspective that we haven't had before. That's going to be a lot of fun. So on my channel, 9 p.m. Eastern, this coming Monday, the 26th of July. It's on my channel now if you want to go set your reminder. So let's see. Will says, Laz ahead of 4 guys who were World's Strongest Man competitors. The comeback has begun. Yeah, like I said, I mean, hamstring or no hamstring, he beat Tom Stoltman in the deadlift. And, Laz and I are friendly, and I got to tell you, I DM'd him right after that, and I said, I know you're not reading this right now because you're competing, but that's effing awesome that you just beat the World's Strongest Man in an axle deadlift. But yeah, it depends what he wants to do. Like, he may say, this is the perfect end to my story, which I didn't have before, and I ride off into the sunset and continue doing my coaching and my incredible YouTube channel and all my other businesses and everything else he has going. And maybe that's what he decides. From a fan's perspective, I would like to see him again. I think, he absolutely did well enough that we would all be excited to see him again. He, even from the opening ceremony, I'll call it, like, he came out with that fire and that motivation and was amping up the crowd, and it's just fantastic to watch. But thanks again, everybody, for jumping on to my review and my recap, the Strongman Classic results show, where we did a whole Strongman Classic recap, full results, complete results of everything that happened, everybody's lifts, all the placings, how Big Laz did at the Strongman Classic, how Iron Bibby did at the Strongman Classic, Iron Bibby's new axle press world record. So the Iron Bibby axle press world record up for a little bit of debate, but we discussed lots of great topics here. Adam Bishop's incredible comeback from last place to finish 4th. Evan Singleton's redemption from World's Strongest Man 2021. Lots of great stories packed into 4 hours of live stream today. And I'm glad that all of you were able to jump onto this live stream to check out this results recap and analysis. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that like button on this stream. Please tell everybody you know to come over and check out all the great analysis on this channel. I really would appreciate that. And subscribe if you haven't yet. It really does help. Really trying to get as many views as I can on all this hard work analysis I've been doing. So thanks again for jumping on this evening. Enjoy your weekend. And of course, as always, ciao, homie.